Did you know that now more than ever, people are talking about moving to Portugal? From holidaymakers to digital nomads to retirees, Portugal has become a hot destination with heavy focus on cities like Porto in the north, Lisboa towards the middle west side of the country, and the Algarve down in the far south. And I don't blame you. I mean, I did it. It's my new home country. From the beautiful landscapes and charming ancient cities to the wonderful people and the cuisine and the wine, Portugal sounds like a dream. But there's a lot for you to understand before you make the leap to a new continent and country. So I put this quick video together to give you some helpful info for you to consider. I'm going to share with you 5 things to know before you visit Portugal. And if you happen to be considering moving here, really listen up. This is for you too. All right, so coming in with number 1. I know this might sound like a bit of a shock for some of you, and for others, it may be news, which is why I'm starting with this as number 1. Portugal is an independent country, and it is not part of Spain. You would be surprised how many people actually come here thinking it's just another part of Spain, by the beach. No, 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 my friend. And I highly recommend that if you are coming to Portugal, that you do some searching on YouTube and look up the history of this amazing place, the Iberian Peninsula, which is home to both España and Portugal. There is so much history here going back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It is kind of mind-blowing. So I would definitely do a little homework before you come. Part of this is important to know, and it is this: Portuguese is the language of Portugal and not Spanish. Okay. Furthermore, European Portuguese, I speak funny English now, is the language of Portugal. Now, the Portuguese, going back hundreds and hundreds of years, did travel the globe, and that's a lot of the history that you can learn about. And they colonized many parts of the globe, including what we now know as Brazil and the African continent, Angola, as well as in China, Macau, and all the way down in the Indian Ocean at the southernmost tip of India, Goa, and other places as well. And so in all of those regions of the world where the Portuguese had colonized, they brought the language, and so versions of Portuguese are spoken there. Each of these beautiful areas has a version of the language that is slightly different from the version that is spoken here in Europe. And so the accents are different, word meanings can be different, and certainly in some places, especially like Brazil, the grammar can be different enough where you would want to make sure that when you are learning Portuguese, especially if you're thinking of coming to Portugal for an extended amount of time, or certainly if you plan to move here at some point, you want to learn the European Portuguese. 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 And this is important because if you're going to use apps like Memrise, which is what I recommend, Duolingo, or other services working with a tutor, I highly recommend iTalki, and I'll put links for some of these things, the ones I like, down in the description below. Then when you're there, you want to make sure that you are learning the European Portuguese and not the Brazilian, and usually they're indicating flags of the country. Okay, so included in number 1 is also do your best to learn some of the language, basic phrases, and ones you're going to use when you interact with people when you're here, when you're first coming to Portugal. And I highly recommend doing that because when you get here, it will go a long way to helping you to ease in to this completely different culture, and it will make the people here smile, even though they will know immediately that You are not from here, but it will go so far with the people here that you are trying to communicate in their language. And please, unless you are from España or Mexico or another Spanish-speaking country, do not speak Spanish here because you think, well, it's like Portuguese. It is not. And that's a whole different video. Don't do it. Now, many people here, especially younger people, do speak some amount of English, but don't rely on that. Don't rely on that. If you get lucky, and you very well will in the touristy areas, many people who work in the service industry do know a good amount of English as a second language or maybe a third language. Uh, Try to speak in Portuguese first, and then when you need to transition, they're going to help you out, right? So I can't tell you how much though it makes a difference when you speak, just a little bit. And so you will learn these most basic phrases from these apps or from having a tutor. And I'll do future videos giving you the most important phrases and words that you'll need to know before you come to Portugal. Okay, there are a couple of YouTubers that I love. There are many YouTube creators who teach European Portuguese, and a couple that have really helped me in my learning journey are people like Pedro and his beautiful website and his videos, and he's so funny. Portuguesepedia is his website. I'll make sure I'll put a link down below for you, as well as Carla, who's someone I've more recently been introduced to via the beautiful YouTube algorithms. And she has a channel called Portuguese with Carla, with her wonderful husband, Marlon. And they are amazing. And I love the way that they teach. It really helped me. So when you're trying to learn the language, it's important that you find teachers that you resonate with and the apps that you resonate with, because there's a lot to take in and you might as well like the person that's teaching it to you, right? By the way, if you are enjoying this video so far, please give it a like and a subscribe, ring the bell, all the YouTube things, so that you can help me to make more content to help you as you explore your global citizen lifestyle. All right, so number two is the Portuguese people are exceptionally welcoming and so helpful to foreigners, especially in the bigger cities like Lisboa, Lisbon, or here in Porto, right? So if you are coming to one of these cities, you'll likely be visiting the most popular tourist attractions and staying probably in Airbnbs or hotels that are probably somewhere in or surrounding the most popular destinations for people coming from other countries. And so the folks in these regions are used to people coming not just from the United States, but from all over Europa, other parts of the world as well. And so they are equipped to be able to support you and help you with getting what you need, whether it's the food you're trying to order or the directions that you need, or clothing or whatever it is that you're shopping for. So with that said, again, using a little bit of your Portuguese, I'll teach you one word right now. Obrigado. Obrigado. That's if you're male, and obrigada with an A at the end if you're female, when you are wanting to say thank you. And that goes so far. So all of this said, you are in a different country, you're on a different continent. Even if you're coming from another European country, Portugal is its own country, and it has its own ways and its own customs, as do every country around the world, right? So remember that when you're here to not be where you just came from. And so please do yourself a favor, and the people who live here all the time, and don't expect things to be just like it is back at home. If you want that, then why would you leave and come take an adventure in some new part of the world? You might as well just stay home if you're going to expect this to be just like where you came from. You're here for the discovery, for the adventure, for the kind of like positive tension that happens when you're in a new place and you don't know how things work and where things are, right? To me, that's one of the most exciting parts of traveling to a new place is, oh my gosh, where am I? What do I do? Which direction do I go? How does this work? Am I lost? What's going to happen? Like, that's exciting to me. And so I don't want things to be just like where I came from. So don't expect things to work here the way they do back in your home city or your home country. And please be kind and patient with the people that you're interacting in the service industry, in on the street. If you're needing directions, don't be afraid to ask people. And if they can help you, they will. If they don't speak English, they will tell you. I promise you that. And if they don't, then okay, that's okay. You'll ask someone else and you'll likely find someone. But just be kind, be patient, and it will go a long way. And this is all really being a conscious traveler. And if you are a follower of the Visionary Voyager world, then this is all designed for you as a conscious traveler who is cultivating and living the global lifestyle, right? And are up to big things in your life, and you want to go out into the world and see what else can inspire, move, and open up new opportunities for you. So just be conscious. All right, so let's move on to number 3. All right. So geographically, Portugal is an incredibly diverse country. Even though it is a smaller country, there's only approximately 11 million people living here currently. That number is always growing now. The geography from north to south is quite diverse, and that applies to temperatures. So up here in the north where I am, this is where Porto is, we have, I would say, more mild climate. So since I came from San Diego and I'm from California originally, I would say that the weather here in the north is kind of like San Diego weather, you know, for the most part, except for in the fall and winter, we do have a rainy season that goes on for quite some time. So it can be cooler, more gray, and a little more wet. So if you're planning to come here from November through April, expect cooler weathers and definitely bring an umbrella and maybe a rain jacket. Okay. Now, as you go down towards the south, in the midsection on the coastal end, the west side, you have Lisbon, or Lisboa, as it is called in Portuguese. And in that region, you have warmer weather, right? And it is not quite as wet in the rainy season, but it's definitely warmer. And then when you go further south to the very bottom, where you're now at the Mediterranean, right? You're just across from Africa. The Algarve region is extremely warm, hot, and gets less rain, water, etc. during the winter season. So each area is quite different, quite distinct. So keep that in mind when you're deciding which areas you want to visit and the time of the year that you would like to come. And by the way, you can come to Portugal any time of the year and have an amazing, amazing time. Just depends on what kind of weather you are expecting or wanting to experience. And I recommend trying different seasons of the year as well. Okay, so number four, tourist visa. If you are from the United States specifically, you can come here for up to 90 days at a time, right? You can go to anywhere in the European Schengen country region, and Portugal is one of those countries, and you can stay for 90 days at a time before having to go back to reset your time for your visa. So if you're considering moving to Portugal, I recommend doing something called slow travel, where you would come, especially if you're able to, if you're a remote worker or a digital nomad, if you have a business that allows you to do your work from anywhere in the world, which kind of makes you a digital nomad, right? Or a remote worker, or maybe you're retired and you're getting close to retiring. Try to see if you can plan an extended trip here to Portugal, where you might stay for a week or two in one region and really get to know it, get to know the people, understand what it's like beyond that initial touristy rush that happens, versus 2 days in Porto, 3 days in Lisboa, 3 days in Madeira, which is another place I highly recommend, by the way, for definitely more than 3 days, right? Popping around. Oh, and then we're going to go to Rome, and then we're going to Paris, and then we're coming back. Like, that's a really exhausting and ineffective way to experience culture. So conscious travelers, slow travelers, usually want to understand what it's like day to day, get a feel and sense for the vibe and the people. And so I recommend longer periods of time. And so knowing that you have 90 days, and if you have a lifestyle that allows you to do that, I recommend doing a slow travel approach and maybe a couple of trips over time where you're staying in specific regions to get a really good sense of what it's like in those regions. Okay, now that takes us to number 5. For those of you who are thinking of moving to Portugal, you need to know that there is a housing shortage currently, especially in popular destinations like Porto and Lisboa, right? Or the Algarve, right? These are the most popular destinations for people to come who want to live here from other countries, let alone all the people that are from here who already live here, who are also needing to have quality housing, right? So I invite you to be very aware of that and to know that you really want to plan ahead and give yourself a tremendous amount of lead time in making your transition. And this is another reason why I recommend, like I said in number 4, slow travel so you can really understand the various regions of each city. For instance, Porto is the second largest city of Portugal. And even though most people might consider it a small city, it is the smallest big city that I've lived in. And I've lived in San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York City, and now here. I've lived a lot of places in the US. And to me, Porto, even though it's technically a small city, there's so much here and it's so spread out that I still feel like I've only scratched the surface and have only been to really only a few of the regions of Porto. And so there's a lot to take in when you're visiting here. I highly recommend that you connect with a real estate agent, maybe even 2 or 3, because they may be specialized in different areas. I used to sell real estate at one point in New York City, and I always recommended people at the beginning of searches that they speak to a couple of other agents who are specialized in different areas because you never know where you're going to lean towards. Now, what you do want across the board with any agent here is you need to know that things do work differently than in the United States. Things can take longer. Mortgages are very different. Buying process is very different. The laws relating to real estate are extremely different and could seem unusual when you're coming from a country like the United States. And you want to make sure that you have a real estate agent who specializes in working with foreigners. And if you can, if depending on the country you're coming from, that they really understand where you're coming from and can compare and contrast how it is here for you. And if you're coming from an English speaking country, then you want to make sure you have an agent who does have a very strong, if not fluent, grasp of the English language, because that's really going to help you, especially with big things like real estate purchases or even rentals. Okay. And you need to know that purchasing timelines, and certainly if you're thinking of renovating and doing upgrades in your home, there's a lot of considerations around that. And you want to make sure you have the right person on your side who isn't just going to try to sell you an apartment without telling you all the things that you'll need to think of in addition that could really, really delay the process of getting what you need done and being able to move into your new home in Portugal. So again, I'll put down a link to real estate agent here who I have personally worked with, who helped me get my beautiful apartment. I call her my real estate angel, and I'm also building a small team of other referral agents who are specialized in different parts of Porto. Even I have a contact for you for Lisboa, which is really, really excellent as well. So you can find links down below for that. Okay, so that is it for now, and I hope that this video gave you a bit of information to help you as you sort out your decision to visit Portugal or to move to this great country and make it your home like I have. I am so happy to be in Portugal. I have been meeting the most amazing people here in my neighborhood who have made me feel so welcome, who have helped me with getting integrated and understanding how things work here. And I just couldn't be happier. And if you want to be in Portugal, then I wish that very same experience for you. By the way, you want to talk more about what it takes to move here or even visiting here, you can schedule a call with me or via the link in the description below. We can have a pre-consultation, but I do offer consultation services. You can engage me to support you in sorting out and answering some of the questions and creating a plan for your move to this country. Please share the questions that you want answered about moving to Portugal or traveling as a global citizen to any other country that you are interested in so that I know what you need, what you want, and I may make a video about that for you very soon. Thanks a lot, and remember, the greatest journey that you will ever take is the inner voyage. Ciao for now. Até já. Até a próxima. Tchau.